welcome to the World of Horror podcast. I'm Mom.
And I'm Mac.
This is the podcast where we share our love of international horror. Fear is universal, but we are not afraid of subtitles. WoHos! This week, our topic is animal attack movies. We reviewed BOAR from Australia and TREMORS from the US. Before we get into it, fair warning, these discussions will include spoilers and spicy language. Let's move on to our first segment, Mom and Mac Chat. Hi, Mac. How's it going?
It's going well, Mom. I love that you put that warning for spicy language because I keep forgetting that that's an aspect of my personality. I don't know where it came from. And I never really realized that it was such a big part of how I speak until I started streaming. And then people would comment like, wow, you curse all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I do? And I have somebody who watches me who's great. Love him. He has kids, and he said that one of his kids walked by while he was watching me and said, "Is that the guy that says all the bad words all the time?" And I was like, mute me. I can't live with this knowledge.
Oh no. I teach college, and so I always sort of figured, they're adults. You know, they can just deal with my spicy mouth. But in the last, 3 or 4 years, I've realized sometimes I have 16-year-olds in my class, and sometimes they come from very sheltered backgrounds. And some people find that kind of language very offensive. So, and it does force you to be more creative if you're censoring yourself.
That's
true.
True.
So there is something to recommend it. But if I'm just freewheeling it, with
Fuck
you, we're wide open, and it doesn't offend me, but yeah, I could see how it could be offensive. I always put the explicit label on there, so people should know before they click, but still.
Do you remember when I asked you if I could curse?
No, okay, this is what I remember, and I love this story so much. So you asked me if you could use the C word, and I thought it was the hard C word, and I was like, why? Why? And then finally...
How old was I, too?
Oh, God, like little.
4th grade, 5th grade?
I was going to say 8 or 9, and I
Imagine
was like...
a 5th grader being like, "Mommy, can I say cunt?"
But you said C word, so I was just like... And then I want to be, open and, whatever. And so, but finally I was like, wait a second, what C word do you mean? And you said, crap.
Because I remember all my friends were 6th graders, and I remember them saying, they literally said to me, "Mac, you never say crap. Why don't you say crap?" And I was like, I can't. I don't know if I can do that yet. Because I had this weird thought in my head that it was just a rule, and you break the rule, and you're just a bad human. Yeah. So then, when I got confirmation from you, I was like, okay. And I remember you were like, don't curse in front of our neighbor, but just fine.
Yeah, you have to know the context. You have to read the room.
Yeah.
But I don't see any reason why, kids can't swear if they're mature enough to know the difference.
I remember the first time I was really contending with the idea of cursing in my head. But then I learned about the word assassinate, and then I was like, well, hold on a second. I have to write ass twice.
Oh.
So I'm saying ass twice. So then I was like, words don't mean anything.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's right.
It was the same feeling I had one time waiting in line this is before I ever knew I was trans. This is when I was a kid. I was waiting in line for the bathroom at the gas station, and it was just a single occupant stall. So men's, women's doesn't mean anything. Except I guess if you only keep certain items in certain ones, but then again, you should just make every stall neutral. Anyways. But the women's line was so long, and the men's line, there was nobody in there. So I was like, I'm going to use the men's bathroom. And in that moment, I learned gender. Who cares?
Why does it say there are 3 people on the call? Can you see that?
Who are you?
I have wondered if my place is haunted, but
Well, now this Riverside studio is haunted.
would they even want to podcast? I mean,
The ghost? What would they say? Ooh, I give it a boo out of 10.
I hope that there is an afterlife and that it is nothing like we have ever imagined that it is.
Right?
But one of them would come back and tell us, you fuckers have no idea. That's what
I like to imagine that it's, you just, you forget the sense of self. I like the idea that we're all the same person.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I feel like it's easier to empathize with people if you, because that's what you should do. It's like, it really is something everybody should pick up from the concept of enlightenment, is like the concept of, I mean, okay, obviously there's like assholes who will be mean to you, but something like somebody cutting you off in traffic, you can be mad, or you can be like, what about that time I had to cut somebody off because I was running late? This is my friend and they're running late. Therefore, I'm not mad at them anymore. It's not always going to work. There's going to be times where you're still like, you can't drive, but it's a nice thought.
I grew up with a lot of different ideas about spirituality. So I was sort of introduced to this idea when I was a kid, and it was this friend of my mom's, and he was saying that, when we die, we just go, I think he said something like we go back to the light, but it's like your sense of self is gone, and that scared the fuck out of me as a kid. But in recovery, one of the things that happens is you're encouraged to find a higher power. So I just shot the moon. I'm just like, I thought of like the most benevolent, the most patient, the most forgiving, the being with the biggest sense of humor, whatever. So I just like imagined that. And a lot of that is not me. Like, I'm not patient at all. And I'm still not patient 18 years into recovery. I'm still not patient, but it's an ideal that I really admire. And also the idea of just letting things not get to you personally. And one of the things that somebody told, because I don't have any original ideas, but somebody told me, and I love this, was instead of saying, guess what happened to me? Just say, guess what happened? Because it's not to you. Like, even if you were there, like today I had trouble finding parking and I felt frustrated and I had to circle the block, and I was like, oh, well, this is going to be a story anyway. But it's like, how many other people were circling the block? And, who cares in the end, So, yeah, I think that's probably true. I imagine it is just a soup. We just get poured back into the soup.
And I like that. I don't know. I feel like, again, I really like the idea from enlightenment of just like that true enlightenment is forgetting all sense of ego and self, and therefore you wouldn't get mad at somebody doing something. If anything, you might pity them, or you might hope that they find something better in their life. And again, I know this is all easy to say right now when I'm talking to my mom, who I love, and not somebody who maybe I hate or who hates me. But again, it's a good thing to keep in mind.
Well, and it's a good exercise, like the way you described it before. It's like, have I ever done this? Have I ever been an asshole because I didn't have enough sleep the night before? Or, whatever you can imagine. And then if you can see yourself doing that, or have, that you've done it yourself, you're like, well, that's not so different than this person in front of me. Or when I'm really scared, how do I behave? Or whatever. If somebody's been insulting me all day long, how do I feel? And then how do I act out of that? So I think it's a great exercise so that you don't like think of us and them and me.
Yes, that is such an important thing that I've been trying to incorporate too, is less of the us and them thing. It's so easy, and like it's human nature to fall into it, but it's so dangerous. And my psychiatrist said something that literally changed my life a little bit, because I was saying to her, I don't remember what the topic was, but I was saying like, oh yeah, like there was somebody talking loudly on their phone, and I just was confused because I was like, I was like, wow, how could they be so confident to be so annoying? And she was like, they don't think they're being annoying, so they don't think it's anything to do with confidence. They have no idea that they're being annoying to you. Like, don't think of it like that. And I was like, oh, you know, like,
Yeah.
I have these rules in my head for like, well, if you do this, this means that. And nobody else has those rules except for me. So if somebody betrays one of the rules in something, it does not mean that that's what they meant by it. You know, you can still tell somebody, hey, you really hurt my feelings when you did this or that. But I think the amount of people who truly go out of their way with malintent to cause harm is like such a small number. And most of the time when you do get your feelings hurt, it's totally a misunderstanding.
Well, one thing I tell my students, which I also, learned from somebody else, was offense is always taken. It's never given.
Mm-hmm.
So, and one kid at the end of the semester, like where we are now, I generally ask them the question, what's something you think you'll remember for a long time? And one time the kid said that. He's like, that one day when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, you never know, like, what sticks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of funny what they hang on to. But
I mean, I remember one time I was so mad at this classmate of mine, and all I wanted to do was to badmouth her to you, and I did. In the car, I was like, she did this, and she did that, and she's so annoying, and I hate her, blah, 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 blah. And all I wanted you to do in that moment was to be like, yeah, Mac, yeah, she sucks, and I hate her too, and you're the best. You're the best kid that's ever lived. But then you were like, you told me hurt people, and then you were like, she probably is going through some shit right now. And then I thought, oh, well, because it was true that she did have the most insane mom of all time, who was horrible to be around. And then you were like, what if that was your mom and you had to go home to her every day? And I was like, ugh, I guess I would be an asshole too. And yeah, it was like, all I wanted in that moment was for you to be an asshole, but I'm so glad that you weren't, because I feel like that's one of those pivotal moments where empathy and love is like a muscle you have to like exercise. And I watched a great video the other day that was saying there's like two ideas about love. One is that it's just all around us and it's just waiting to come get you, which I don't believe. And the other one, which is love is something that you can work on and practice. And I like that a lot more.
There's also this idea that it's instead of paranoia, where everything is out to get you, it's called pronoia, which is everything's out to help you.
I love that too. Just
imagining that, like, and I do that in my own life.
You do?
I do. Like when I wake up in the morning, I usually try to like write down or at least think of things that I'm happy about, like I'm grateful for. And sometimes it's like, the other day it was like the electricity's on. I mean, it could be like really basic stuff, but it does kind of put me in a good frame of mind for the day.
Yeah, and again, I think most of the time it's true. Like you catch somebody looking at you and you're thinking like, oh my God, they're looking at me because they think I'm ugly. And it's like, they might be looking at you because they're like, wow, I've never seen somebody that beautiful before. And I've literally had moments where I think somebody's looking at me to be rude. And then later they come and they're like, I just want to say like, I like your outfit. And I'm like, I assumed the worst about you. That's so rude of me,
It's fun to grow. That is such a stupid thing to say.
It's fun to grow.
It's fun to grow. What was before when I wasn't recording? What was the name
like
of the
fella type of guy?
Oh yeah, no, like yeah, hi fella in a friendly way.
Hi fella in a friendly way. Fella in a friendly way.
Yeah, because WoHos, we were talking about co-opting expressions from English people and Australian people,
like mate.
Yes, mate would be a good one because it's gender neutral and it's friendly.
Yeah,
and then I don't know, we got on this talk about fella. And how Mac likes big fella.
Hey there, big fella.
And how neither one of us can do an Australian accent, but that's okay.
Away there, big fella.
Let's do the shout-outs and the favorite
Yes.
movies.
Yes.
You want to go or you want me to go?
You go. I still don't know who my shout-out is.
Oh, okay. And you don't have to have one because it's our podcast. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
Well, I'm going to think about it, though.
Okay, so my favorite movies from April are My Heart Can't Beat Unless You Tell It To and Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy. So My Heart Can't Beat Unless You Tell It To is a small movie about a vampire in the family. And it's pretty dark. It's pretty hard, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. And the other one is called Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy by Ryusuke Hamaguchi, who also did Drive My Car, which I loved. And this one is similarly weird and good.
I love that description. Weird and good. I hope that's what people say about me. My favorite movies from this month were... Oh, I didn't mention this before. I watched the documentary about Elizabeth Holmes. Is that The Adventure of Hunt for Blood in Silicon Valley?
Okay.
Great documentary. And as somebody who has worked in a, may not be too specific, in a startup involving labs, everything that they said here, I 100% see. And I feel like if I lived in Silicon Valley, I would have worked at this place. This is basically the job I just quit. Was this. And so it was kind of cathartic seeing them talk about it. Not to this level. She's definitely next level. But again, if my company was not in North Carolina, but was in Silicon Valley, that would have been us. And I loved Turning Red and X. 2 great 2022 movies that I recommend.
Oh my gosh. X is so good.
It's like, so good.
It's hard to describe how good it is.
Like, that movie will be studied. Like, it should be an art book like Parasite did. Like, because the shots in it were just incredible.
Yeah. And the performances were great. And it's so fucking funny. All this stuff
in a
with,
way that's, like, so fun. Like, it's not cheesy, but campy.
Yeah. And Martin Henderson still got it.
Buff as hell.
If you're into some older guy.
But you really can't tell. He's wearing
Oh my god, he looks...
It was insane.
But at this one point, he's just walking around in his, like, underwear. Oh, man's is...
It was fancy.
Built!
Yeah.
Ugh. That was good stuff. But I mean, everybody has an amazing body. There's some side boob that you get from...
Great side boob. There's a silhouette of a dong. I don't know if it was real. It looked a little bit...
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think that's humanly possible, but it was hilarious.
Kid Cudi, also great bod.
Oh, yeah, very nice. But it's not all about nice bodies. It's about aging. It's about wanting what you don't have. And
I really love it. It tackles the male gaze kind of both from a male and female perspective, or how I would say women themselves play into this idea of a male gaze, because having something that is of great value, like, unfortunately, like, obviously, okay, we don't want this, but it is an unfortunate reality. Women are prized for their beauty, and when you are in possession of that beauty, then having it slip away from you, or never even being in possession of that beauty, maybe, and that kind of, like, almost the same for money of just like, oh, I want this, you know?
Yeah,
I haven't seen that tackled as much as I've seen, except in the context of like, old woman hates younger woman, but this was a true, you felt it, and it was great.
Yeah, and that one, we went to see it at an Alamo Draft House, and
it was so fun.
Our waiter was super, super funny, but also, you're in a kind of a recliner, and I was basically just like squirming. I was literally squirming at one point because it was just like, just the thought of it was just like so tricky, and it built on another fear that I have, but I won't say any more because I don't want to spoil it at all, even though we spoil things all the time, but this one's still pretty recent, and I hope that people can see it in the theater, too, because I think the theater experience is really important for this one. But I'll probably buy it, because I just really, really enjoyed that one.
We had a great moment where Because since it's the Alamo, you have a waiter, and these two ladies behind us, he went up to them and was like, "Get ready for this movie. It's got a lot of sex and gore." And they go, "Huh, I'm so glad I'm not here with my mom." And me and my we looked at each other and we just went, ah.
Yeah, and even though he misgendered you, he did say that I was very cool.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Yes.
Listen, again, not that women can't have mustaches, but I was like, I don't know what I need to do.
I know.
Because I was like, thanks, yes, I love being my mother's daughter. Like, this is just ridiculous at this point.
Well, he had already decided because he came down the aisle. Hey, ladies, he had already decided.
It's like, you can backtrack. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
we'll just pretend that didn't happen. No? Oh, you're just going to keep going? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for my popcorn. This lady enjoys it very much so.
Well, it is important. It is important, but I mean, you can't.
You can find the humor
every
in it.
battle. Yeah. But
I'm not going to get mad at the Alamo Draft House waiter.
he was a trip. Fella, if you're listening, you were a fucking trip.
You made me laugh, but you also talked a little bit too much.
Oh, yes. Might want to dial that back. But my shout-outs for April are Film versus Film podcast. Martin and Boaz have a great little podcast over there in Wiltshire, England, and they invited us on to talk about vampire movies, and then we invited them on to talk about The Thing, and I think both conversations were great.
I don't think I'm over-exaggerating when I say it's the collaboration of the century.
I mean, I didn't want to say it, but now that you have,
I'm glad I had the strength to say what we were all thinking.
You're very brave.
Thank you. Boaz, Martin, you both are amazing. Instantly felt comfortable. It's not easy for me to really feel comfortable, like, immediately talking to somebody, but you guys are both really sweet, very nice, and very smart, and
oh god, yeah,
good at having a convo. Like, I mean, Martin, you're so good at being like, and you, who has not spoken in a minute, what do you think about this? That's amazing. I wish I had that talent.
That's a skill, and not a lot of people have it, and I wish more people did have it. But I totally agree. What a great host and guest. And when he was like promoing us,
very sweet.
Oh my god, there was so much, and it was really great. So, WoHos, I hope you'll check out both of those podcasts. They were great. And then just subscribe to Martin and Boaz's podcast. And then just go ahead and subscribe to Film versus Film podcast, because it will enrich your life, for sure. Yes. The other thing I wanted to shout out is Daisuke Beppu's 31 Days of Cop Films and Gangster Films on YouTube. And what he did was, I think he started around April 11th. And every day he presents 2 movies, 1 cop film and 1 gangster film. 2. So you're actually going to get 62 films. Oh, and it's insane, but these are great, great films. And so what I did was I just started a list on Letterboxd, and you can just find it by looking for Daisuke Beppu's 31 Days or whatever.
Give it a like.
But yeah, it's great. Oh, that'll be number 4.
I'll be number 4.
Also, guys, let me just go ahead and shout out my own Letterboxd. Well, it's World of Horrors Letterboxd, but I put on everything that we've reviewed on the podcast in that list. So you can go back and see what we thought about various movies and then go check those episodes out. And so, check out Daisuke. He's a delight.
So great. Can't wait to have him. One day.
I know. One day.
If you're hearing this, Daisuke, that's your invitation.
I will make a formal invitation. Soon. What about you, Mac?
Shout outs. Well, I guess I'll shout out. Every Friday, I participate on a stream on Twitch from my good friend, Kit, who goes by Witch Boy Kit, and that is WITCHBOY YKIT. We do what we call Legally Bald, which is we play Ace Attorney games, but we all do the voices. And that's every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And we have several compilations also. It's not just me and Kit, it's a bunch of our friends as well. So that is what I will shout out.
So the channel's called Witch Boy Kit?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome. Well, hey, Mac, do you want to get into it?
I would love to. For my picks, I chose animal creature features. This was mostly inspired by simply going on Shudder.com, looking at their exclusives and originals, and I was like, okay, I'll watch this one called Boar. And I really was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did, but I really loved it. And I really feel like Tremors is such a great pair with it because both of them have such a small rural hometown vibe, but in a very Australian and American way. Now, granted, I'm not Australian, so I cannot say if all of this is 100% accurate, but it felt really real. Like, it did not just feel like a bunch of stereotypes. All of these people felt real, which was really great, but it still felt uniquely Aussie. Boar, just to give you a brief synopsis, is a 2017 Australian horror film about a young family that finds themselves in the Australian countryside being hunted by a bloodthirsty wild boar. It was directed by Chris Sun and written by Christy Dallas and Chris Sun. It stars Nathan Jones as Bernie, who is the biggest man I've ever seen, John Jarrett as Ken, who we love, Christy Lee Britton as Ella, Melissa DeCouts as Sasha, Ernie Dingo as Ernie, Roger Ward as Blue, Hugh Sheridan as Robert, Bill Moseley as Bruce, who I remember from Repo, the Genetic Opera. He's the one American. He's got the face, like, I mean no disrespect, but he definitely belongs in horror movies. He's just like kind of gangly looking a little bit. Again, I see this with respect. Chris Haywood as Jack, Richie Guarnaccio as Oscar, and Griffin Walsh as Bart, and Simone Buchanan as Debbie. Or should I say Bat?
Bat.
Where's Bat? It was released November 23rd, 2017 at Monsterfest, and has an amazing runtime of 96 minutes. So yeah, I guess I'll just jump into the plot. Now, I do think sometimes creature features can be bad. I would say most of the time if I see one, I think, well, this is going to be a bad movie. But I feel like this one is everything you want out of a creature feature. So we start off with a man and a woman. They're in a car, and basically they're just it's our cold open. They see a bunch of smaller pigs running away from something, and they're kind of like, okay, what's that? Then we get the POV from the monster's view, and it's very kind of like, you know, fisheye lens, like the colors are, like the oranges are very bright. It gets them. So John Jarrett, he's been repairing, you know, here we get some like a background of these characters. It's a small town. Everybody goes to sit at this pub that's owned by, so wait, John Jarrett is
Sasha's dad.
So yeah, okay, yeah, Sasha's dad. So yes. So he's kind of like, you know, like a sweet, pervy old man, but affectionate. He's not too weird. He kind of says some weird things about a young lady, but
I know, but this was kind of like, it gave me kind of, not Witches of Eastwick. What's the one with Edward Woodward?
I don't know.
The Wicker Man. You know, you didn't like it when the young barmaid was, you know, everyone was talking about her ass or whatever, or her tits or something. But it's like, yeah, I don't know, it's fine. It's not that pervy, really.
Well, yeah, and his daughter gives him grief for it. She's like, she's too young for you. So we also see that there's a car trip. We've got Bruce, who is the American new husband of Deb, her daughter Ella, and the daughter's sleazy boyfriend Robbie, and her son Bart. There's this great moment where there's this guy, Ernie Dingo. He really one of my favorite characters. He has so many great lines, But I guess simply for being not white, he's sitting down and asks Ella if she has like a light or something. She's like, no, I don't smoke, or a cigarette. And her boyfriend is like, well, here, will $20 get, help you? And he's like, thanks. And then we see we see a young kid come up, hand the guy something. He's like, here, got those things for you. Turns out he's like probably the richest man in town. He's got this whole company and he's like, thanks for the 20. There's a lot of moments like, see, I think that's what makes this movie feel very real, is that what I like too is that there are people, it doesn't shy away from the fact that like, at least in the culture of this movie, there are some problematic beliefs, but I don't think that those characters who those comments are directed to are ever really the butt of the joke ever. They get the last laugh, and we get to all say, hey, wasn't that a dumb comment that you made? Which I like. If you're going to depict any sort of problematic behavior, I think this is how you do it.
I guess I had sort of taken that in, but I hadn't really thought about it. But here with Ernie, later on, I think it's Jack, the old guy, and people are just like, oh, you drunken old man. It turns out he's right. And also, Bernie is a big, very big, I think he's like 7 feet tall or something. He's like a very big man, and he looks intimidating. But he's just a sweetheart, and so these stereotypes are undercut, and that's really nice.
Yeah.
And you don't get that all the time.
And there's another great comment later where Ernie says like, all right, drinks are free for everyone. If you're black, white people, you got to pay extra. It's just like a small little comment, but it's just like, and
then the old man's like,
vibe of this town, which is just everybody loves each other, which is great. So John Jarrett and Sasha kind of fill us in on Deb's family. Deb's brother is Bernie, this large man, and that's their family, and they haven't been back, I guess, to this part of town or this country area in a really long time. So they go to visit Uncle Bernie. Again, he is a very large man, but he's so sweet and so nice, but he's intimidating when needed. Like, again, Robbie, the boyfriend, is a slime bag, and like, you want him to get the shit kicked out of him. And Bernie's like, all right, hey, Robbie. And he's like, well, my name's Robert, actually. And he goes, I think I like Robbie. And Bruce, the stepdad, goes, you should just let him call you Robbie. It's easier that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Uncle Bernie, we first see him bottle feeding lambs on his farm. He's the sweetest, and he loves the youngest son, Bart. I think the kid's like maybe 14, but they have a really sweet relationship. He like picks up everybody when he hugs them. He's just a sweetie. They're talking more about, so then we get this man and his dog Whiskey. We don't really see the dog perish, but you know what happens because you hear some sad yelps, and the man eventually perishes as well. He gets caught in this barbed wire, which is so disgusting.
And kind of funny because it happens in Tremors too.
True. You're so right. Yeah, and so just another example of this pig is running amok, but there's no real word of it yet in town.
With this guy, right, in town, all the townspeople know is that something is tearing down fences
and killing animals,
eating sheep and stuff. But here we see the thing.
And it's a nasty bastard.
It's very, very big. And it just, the guy, the nameless man with the dog Whiskey, he sees it. Now, I don't know why he turns over on his tummy, I guess to sort of crawl away, but he doesn't make it. But we do get to see, like, the head of the boar.
And this thing is a beast. Like, it's not a boar, it is a beast. It's a monster. Very well. I think it looks great. Because this is what I like about this movie, is that I guess maybe you could call it supernatural, but it does just seem like it's a big fucking weird ass boar. And what are you gonna do? And I love that. So I love how you have him here. JJ's got his old friend Blue, and they're like, let's go out, and just chill outside. So they get some beers and some snacks from the pub, and they tell Sasha, they're gonna go. Blue in particular goes and grabs everything, and he's like, oh, I won't let your dad get too drunk or anything. So we get to them hanging out. We find out that Sasha's mom had passed away 15 years ago. These two have a really nice, easy relationship where Blue and JJ, I mean, where they are kind of like bantering with each other. I mean, they're talking about Sasha's mom, and then Blue just very easily goes like, "How long has it been, mate, since she's been gone?" You know, and but it feels really tender.
But I put JJ in the notes, but actually his name is Ken. But that's like John Jarrett.
But it's John Jarrett.
It's John Jarrett.
It's John Jarrett.
But he says, I love this line. He goes, 15 years since I buried my heart.
Because there's a moment where Blue's in the bar where a few of these drunken ladies who seem to be frequenters of the bar are like, "Where's your father, Sasha? Like, he's a man I want to sink my teeth into, you know?" And Blue kind of hears that and is like, "Woo." He goes and tells JJ and he's like, "No." But also this guy, like, clearly is just, all he has set sights on now is just his daughter and being an old drunk, kind of. He's not really interested in anything else. But I like it. There's a lot of characterization in this movie that is not outright told to you. It is just from seeing the characters talk to each other, and that's the best kind to me. Mm-hmm. So they notice that there is a fire outside, and it almost seems like John Jarrett just like wants to get into trouble. Like he's like, should they even be out here? Is it okay for them? And he just kind of wants to put his nose into it. So he's like, all right, let's go down there. Blue's like, what? It's like an hour walk. And he's like, come on. So they get going and they start walking down there. There is a couple in a tent. And I mean, the guy's like, you know, let's have sex. And the woman's like, no, go check and make sure that the other two campers aren't there. But then he never comes back. And she begins to get worried, like, hey, where are you? She opens up the tent and we see his dead body and the boar, who then comes right in. And this reminds me of I don't want to reveal too much, but that one scene in Backcountry.
Yes!
That
totally!
Such an amazing scene. Because it's so claustrophobic because you're in a tent and there's this giant beast. Oh, I mean, she's a goner. The gore in this movie, incredible.
Really good. So
Bluey and JJ see the boar, and well, it's great because Blue sees it through his like scope, and JJ's like, "What is that?" And he's like, "This is the biggest fucking boar I've ever seen." Like, it's just a great, like, they're just so like, well, we got to go take care of it. And JJ is like really worried about the young campers, and so he really wants to make sure that they don't get hurt. They get to the camp, and well, it's a little bit too late. They see the carnage and the bodies, but they notice that there's 2 tents. So there must be 2 more. So they're like, okay, Blue is going to go back and grab the car. Or no, he's going to go back and get bullets.
Ken doesn't have bullets. And so he sends Blue back while he stays to look for the missing campers.
But Blue gets visited by the boar and he puts up a good fight, but they got his ass. So meanwhile, as Ken looks for the missing campers, we see the other 2 campers. It's this guy telling this girl an old like Aboriginal story, and she's kind of just like, whatever. But then they hear some kind of creepy sound, so the guy's like, shh, be quiet. But she's still thinking that he's telling her a story, so she's like, come off it, you know, whatever. And he's like, shut up. And there's a moment where they're like truly like, is it there? The guy turns to the left, and somehow, soundlessly, the boar has gored this woman. Its tusk is literally going through, like, the underside of her chin, coming out of her mouth. And, and it just completely just throws her around like a rag doll. It's an incredible scene. The guy gets so scared, he's a goner. JJ finds her. She's still alive. She's on the ground, still alive. She's got, like, you know, really bad, you know, cuts, and I love him in the scene here because it's so hopeless for her, but he's really trying his best. Like, she says, like, where's Mark? Is Mark there? And he just goes like, let's not, no. We can't worry. We have to worry about you right now. He doesn't even he's like, he's gone. And he's kind of just trying to put her back together, and it's not working. So then we get the boar POV as And JJ tells her, he's like, don't worry, I've been messing with boars my whole life, you know, and he's like, come here, you big ugly bastard. You're the pig. Well, I'm the big bad fucking wolf. And, he puts up a fight, but he is bested.
When he dies, he shouts, Sasha. Mm-hmm. I'm the big bad fucking wolf. Don't you think that's a reference to Wolf Creek?
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, this is what he did after the events of Wolf Creek. He turned himself a new life. Here's another great scene. I love this. So we get back to the bar, Sasha's bar. Some dude slaps her on the ass, and she's just incredible. She's like, what the fuck is your problem? And the guy still keeps giving her lip and is like, here, just, you know, you can punch me. So she does. She clocks him, and then Bernie gets in there and literally hauls him out. And she's like, get him out of here. He's bleeding all over my floor. I love that. Oh, he's leaking all over my floor. The family watches from the cars. They're like, what is Bernie doing? Because they just see from the car, there's a shot of him just carrying this guy and just throwing him out. Sasha still can't get a hold of her dad. And so she asks Bernie, who's picking up some supplies because he's going to go take the family out. She's like, can you just look for him? So we're out, you know, they're just kind of having like a nice little day in this countryside, and Bernie kind of leaves them. Like they're in the water playing. Bernie's like, I gotta go look for Sasha's dad. I'll be right back. So he gets into his Jeep and we start listening to Ice Ice Baby. Great scene of him just fucking, if I can say, this guy has a lot of Tom Hopper energy. If you know that actor from like Umbrella Academy and Merlin, just like big buff guy who's very silly. He's just having fun, singing along. And then the truck gets totally thrown over by the boar. And Bruce and Robert kind of hear like a noise, and they're like, so they go and check it out. Meanwhile, Robert tells Bruce, I think I'm going to ask, Ella to marry me. And I love this scene. I feel like it almost could have been a deleted scene, but it's just funny because you kind of appreciate Bruce a little bit more, because up until now he's kind of just been a little bit of a punching bag, but he's like, I kind of raised Ella, and I just, want to make sure, you're the right person, and I don't even know your family or anything. And Robbie's like, how many times have you been married, Bruce? What, 3? And he's like, yeah, I'm just saying I don't want you to make the same mistakes as me. And I really like this. But then they see the boar, because they kind of turn the corner and it's there. And they're both kind of like, holy shit, that's fucking crazy. Get back to Sasha's bar. Here we have the drunk telling the story of the giant boar. And it's great because we, the audience, know that he's totally correct. But in this context, you can just see how this would be just another crazy story from this guy. Because they're like, we've all heard the stories that you tell, you got enough stories to last us a lifetime. That's when Sasha says, I'm really worried about my dad. Ernie, can you keep hold of the bar? And he says, free drinks if you're black. In the moment, back with Robbie and Bruce with the boar, Robbie pushes Bruce over and runs away. What a fucking asshole. Boar fucking just eats Bruce's head, drags him across the ground, turns him into a bloody pulp, and Bernie sees that, shoots him with the gun. Robbie is running back to camp, and he's trying to say, like, run! And it's funny because Ella and her mom and Bart are like, is that Robert? What is he saying, run? And then he just gets like taken by the giant boar. It just like whams into him. And so then Bernie picks up Ellie, grabs everybody, and now we're kind of at like the final part of the movie. So they're putting up the good fight. The boar takes Bart, and there's a horror. I was really sad about this. There's the scene where the mom then is, because Bernie's doing all the legwork, obviously. He's carrying everybody. They're going to die without him. And the mom's like, how could you let the boar take my son, take my boy? And he just keeps apologizing. He's like, I'm so sorry. And there had been a comment earlier because Bernie was like throwing Bart into like the river while they were playing. And the mom kind of gets nervous. She's like, oh, he's being too rough. He doesn't know his own strength. And Bruce says, well, no, he cares too much about the kid. He would do anything to protect him. And so I guess this is kind of like when it came down to the cut, he actually didn't take him. But if you saw that situation, I don't know there was much he could do. Ellie's like, can we get a fire going? So Bernie goes to get some wood. The boar comes back. He gets the ladies to leave. He's like really just tussling with this boar, like stabbing it, you know, he's like on his hands and knees, like just getting at it. We don't really know if he makes it or not. We just kind of cut away. So Deb and Ellie are at the fire. They're kind of bonding a little bit together, talking about like, oh, let's make these torches that, you know, Bruce and Bart learned how to make when they went camping. And the boar gets to them. But right in the last moment, Sasha to the rescue as she hits the boar with her car. I guess revenge for him destroying that beautiful Jeep. So Deb shoots the boar. They seem to kill it. Bernie and Bart emerge from the woods. Now, I don't know how Bart made it.
I know.
I don't know how any of them made it, but they did. That's great. And they all drive away, and they all kind of make a statement of like, we're going to all move to the city. And as they drive away, you can hear the boar growling. And I just loved it. It just was a great movie. A very, like, a lovely little beast flick.
I mean, yeah, I don't think it, you know, it's that deep or anything like that, but you know, I think it is, I mean, we're not there yet, but I would recommend it just for what we said before about, you know, you usually have like pretty two-dimensional characters, but at least in this thing, you know, they're trying to flesh out these supporting characters, and I mean, it's good.
Yeah, and again, I'm not Australian, so I cannot say if this is at all accurate, but I liked it because it really did feel like a small town story in Australia. Like, if that's what they were going for, they got the vibe down perfect. And as an American, I don't know, just, it was fun to watch. But it did not also feel like too much. It felt very Aussie, but it did not feel like, good eye, mate, is there a dingo? Like, it felt more like, yeah, this is Aussie, but, you know, not corny. Should we get into the letterboxed reviews?
Yeah, I decided to call this section briefly, what does Letterboxd have to say about it? Because I'm just taking like 1 or 2 sentence reviews.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
So briefly. Yeah.
Briefly. So Skibo 1, excuse me, gives it 3.5 stars. It says, sweet pig. This mammoth boar hates Aussies. He kills them like Aussies kill beer. Campers aren't safe. Hunters aren't safe. Even bartenders aren't safe. A fun, bloody romp in the Australian countryside. I enjoyed it, and I hope you will as well. Anyone for pork chops and sausage? Oink, mate. Thanks, Skibo.
Thanks, Skibo.
Urja Stark gave it 2 stars, says, meh, needed more boar. I disagree. I feel like it gave plenty of boar, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, there are some movies where you never see the creature. You see this boar.
Yeah, and I did like, though, the kind of low budge kind of thing where, like, with the guy in Whiskey, most of that is off camera. Mm-hmm. It's mostly sound effects, and he's reacting, and you just have to, like, piece it together in your head. At the end of that scene, we do get the satisfaction of actually seeing the monster, but a lot of this was just off camera, and I liked that.
And the stuff that was on camera,
yeah,
like getting gored through the mouth, getting, you know, dragged to a bloody pulp. I mean, like, it gives you enough, I think. I think you'll be well satisfied with the amount of gore, if that's your thing.
And even Bernie,
he gets it.
I mean, his guts are hanging out, and it's like, you don't even know, you know, if he's survived. And I thought that was pretty good, because, you know, it's like when your last hope is gone. That's like, what are you going to do?
And I almost thought for a second that they were going to take out Bernie just in the Jeep scene. And I was like, oh, are they already taking him out now? I thought it was kind of going to be like Deep Blue Sea, Samuel L. Jackson suddenly dying. I'm glad he stayed a little bit longer, but I do kind of wish him and Bart had died in the end. If you're going to have, it's like, why would the boar not kill these two? No,
did they taste bad, or like, that doesn't make any sense.
Especially Bart, like, because it leaves Bart somewhere and comes back. So it's like, where did it put him?
Yeah,
it's not that smart.
And it would have been fine to just have like 3 women survive and help each other at the end. That'd be fine.
That's fine.
But I mean, I'm glad they survived. But I was like, oh, really?
It does kind of feel a little bit like, all right. Anna gave it 1 star, but she did say it was fun, hot garbage. Did
You're not wrong.
I'm okay. I don't think it's garbage.
I don't think it's garbage. I don't think it's garbage either.
But
I'm
it is
sorry.
fun.
It is fun.
Jester gave it 3.5 stars. Said, "I love the gore. OMFG." Same
Mhm.
Jester. Rachel gave it 3 stars. Said, "I watched this purely for Bill Moseley. The boar is dope, the kills are cool, and the blood is extremely pretty, if that makes sense." Also, the first 20 minutes in, I think they said mate or bloody about 113 times. But I think that's accurate. My Aussie friend says bloody all the time. So, Full-Time Horror Junkie gave it 4 stars and said, "Just when I was giving up on newer movies, this totally bizarre and unashamedly goofy Australian flick brings me right back." What's your problem, Full-Time Horror Junkie? If you're a full-time horror junkie, don't you know there's a lot of great movies out right now? I don't know.
I'm not sure. I put all this in Notepad and then I erased some of it. But on Letterboxd, it'll tell you when they watched the movie. So how would we rate it? What if we rated it in tusks?
This might sound weird after all the praise I just gave it, but I think I'd give it 3.5 tusks.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Twins!
I was going to say 3, but I do think it's better than Crawl to me.
Yeah.
You know, there's less CGI. There is some CGI, but the characters make more sense, and I enjoyed it a lot more.
I think it's a fun movie that I think that there are sometimes creature flicks that really just focus way too little on the creature itself, but I actually think this one, I never was lacking for boar moments, in my opinion. I think that we got plenty of boar moments throughout the film, so there were never any long periods of time where you're like, oh my god, show me the monster. They kept sprinkling it in.
What have we learned?
Sometimes the drunk in your pub might be telling the truth. He might have seen a big boar.
He might have.
I guess, like, don't bring a knife to a boar fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're gonna attack a giant boar, you do need bullets. And
Yes.
Maybe the smartest thing wouldn't be to split up in that moment.
Yeah.
It didn't
hard
really
to
work out for
know.
them. So, one last thing. If everybody that you know thinks that your boyfriend's kind of a slime bag, he might be a slime bag that would throw your stepdad under the bus and let him get killed by a giant boar.
I like that because I was like, I got this real creepy vibe from him, like, the moment
I hated
he
him.
showed up. And then, but everybody, you know, is sort of accepting him and giving him shit in the way that you do in a family. But he was an asshole.
Yeah, and I guess, yeah, it's like when push comes to shove, I think it's a good message. It's like, yeah, okay. When there's no issues happening and everything's easy, it's easy to be your best self, but it's less easy when there's a giant boar chasing you. And that's a good metaphor for relationships, I think. The big boar chasing you might be money, stress. And is your partner going to throw your stepdad to get eaten?
Yeah,
If
it's a good
he shouldn't be
question
your
to
partner.
ask.
Everybody should be asking themselves this.
Would we watch it again?
In a little bit. I've watched it twice in a very short amount of time now, which might
Same.
be too much, but yeah. I think my favorite kill, I definitely think the scene at the tents is pretty gross. But pretty
It's so
great.
backcountry.
Yeah.
And I did like the sequence with Bernie when he's like, I mean, he's punching this thing, he's stabbing it with a knife, you know, he's trying to kill it with a shovel. That would have worked, but he slips under the boar and then he gets really, really fucked up. But yeah, I mean, it's a very tense scene. You kind of go back and forth like, he's got him on the ropes. And this guy, Bernie, I can't remember his name, Nathan Jones, I think, is an ex-wrestler.
Oh, makes sense. He did a great job. So, a number of the cast have appeared in notable Ozploitation, which is Australian exploitation movies of the past. Chris Haywood co-starred in the original 1980s Aussie wild boar action thriller Razorback, 1984. Roger Ward appeared in both Mad Max in 79 and Turkey Shoot in 1982. Steve Bisley was in both Mad Max and The Chain Reaction in 1980. Simone Buchanan was in Run Chrissy Run from 1984, and John Jarrett stars in Wolf Creek. Go listen to our episode about Wolf Creek. And was in both Aussie gigantic croc monster movies Rogue from 2007 and Dark Age from 1987.
I will say you can skip Rogue.
Okay.
But you should seek out Dark Water.
Okay.
Or is it Blackwater? What is it? Dark Water. It's Blackwater. Because Dark Water is the Japanese film. But Blackwater is an amazing croc Aussie film. Mm-hmm. And we also mentioned that on our Australian episode back in season 1.
Go listen. Wild boars actually are incredibly tough and resilient, combining an immense tolerance for pain and blood loss with a dense hide and thick subcutaneous fat deposits that function as natural armor. As anybody who's actually hunted boars knows, you need to be very precise with your shots because they can take a lot of punishment and keep on kicking. Scary. Wild boars were called razorbacks because of their high hair-covered backbone and their ill-mannered temper.
Yeah, they're freaking scary with those tusks and everything.
I don't want to be near a wild boar.
No.
Not
at all. Ugh. Ugh. Should we move on to Tremors?
Let's do it.
Tremors is a 1990 American Western-themed monster horror-y. No.
Horror-y. Horror comedy.
It was directed by Ron Underwood, who's directed a bunch of stuff, but friend of the show, Quinn likes City Slickers, so I put that one there. The screenplay was by Brent Maddock, S.S. Wilson, who also developed the story with Ron Underwood. And it stars Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, Finn Carter, Michael Gross, Reba McEntire, and R.I.P. Tony Gennaro, Victor Wong, and B.B. Beach. No, I think it's B.B. Besh. That's autocorrect.
I did not realize that was Reba McEntire.
Oh, really?
I guess I've seen her with just so much plastic surgery that I was like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, this lady. She seemed vaguely familiar, but it was only just now that I was like, oh, that Reba.
Well, it was a while ago. I mean, you weren't even born.
True.
So that's how long it was ago. Kevin Bacon both Kevin and Fred had good years. In 1990, I think Kevin Bacon had 3 movies come out. This one, Flatliners, and maybe one more. And then Fred Ward had 3 other movies besides Tremors to come out.
Wow.
Including Henry and June, which was kind of a really big movie for him. The release date was January 19th, 1990. It also has a running time of 96 minutes.
Amazing.
We get an introduction to Valentine and Earl, and we love them.
We love
so
them.
much.
They're such a cute
They are just
couple.
so sweet. Yes. So Earl is sleeping in the back of this pickup truck. Val goes to wake him up. And I had to rewind this because I'm like, is he breaking the fourth wall? But actually, he just looks at the cows and then he looks back at Earl and he gets this idea for the stampede. Yeah.
Okay,
so,
that's a good point because I feel like I thought that too of like, is he looking at me?
I mean, he looks pretty much into the camera, but it's like, I don't think that was intentional. So we get an almost Bacon fourth wall break. Anyway, he tells Earl there's a stampede, even though there's like 3 cows. And Earl kind of slithers out of the back of the truck. He's in his sleeping bag. And he says, I was in a stampede once, and they were hell-bent for the horizon. And Val joins in with that because he's heard that a million times. They're grousing about being handymen, and Earl says that Val never plans ahead. That'll be important later. And we meet Rhonda, who is the grad student who is studying the geology of the place. But he doesn't meet...
Fred Ward goes, geography. And and then Kim goes, geology. And she goes, well, seismology, actually.
Yeah. But she doesn't meet Val's criteria. She's supposed to be blonde hair, blue-eyed, legs that go all the way up, big tits, all this stuff. She doesn't. She just looks sort of like...
she looks like a lady.
She looks like a grad student who is studying seismology.
She's got like sunscreen all over her nose, and she's got like, curly hair and cute shorts. She's adorable.
Super cute, but it doesn't fit his list. Also, apparently that day it was snowing, so kudos to her because she had to pretend that she was baking in the hot sun, but actually it was super cold that day.
You would have no idea.
We meet Melvin, who's sort of this douchebag kid. Okay, whose kid is he?
I was wondering that too. I was like, where's his mom? Does he just live here?
I think he's their boss. Who's their boss? I don't know, but I think the guy who gets like sucked under, he's on this tire and he gets sucked under. I think that's his dad, but I'm not sure. But anyway, he's just a dick, this little kid. Well, teenager. And then we sort of get our home base of Walter's shop. And we meet Bert and I can't remember her name. They are preppers. Heather.
They're kind of like made fun of a little bit by everybody. Like they're like, all right, you got all your guns. You got enough guns for you. They're kind of like thought of, I think, as like kooks.
Yes, but that'll be important later. Oh, I love this line. I think Walter wants them to work on something. And they're like, nope, we got a schedule to keep. And Bacon says, we plan ahead. That way we don't do anything right now. Earl explained it to me. That's great. We get a point of view from the graboid, I guess, although it's above the ground when it's slithering. But okay, we'll let that pass. But anyway, this graboid sneaks up on Rhonda, but she gets into her truck, completely unawares. The guys are dealing with all the trash in the town. The town of 14 people. That's a population of perfection. And they're drinking beer at the dump. And then they end up having to deal with the septic tank that leaks and gets shit all over them. So they're like, we're out of here. That's enough. We have had it with this place. We need to go to Bixby and make a new life for ourselves. Then we meet Nancy. She has a little daughter named Mindy, who's always on her pogo stick. And Nancy is like, can you help me with something? I'll give you lunch and beer. So they think about it, but they're like, nah, we gotta go. We gotta get out of here. Then they're almost out of town. But then they see this old man, Edgar Deems. He's up on the electricity tower. And they discover shortly that he is super dead. And the doctor tells them that he died of dehydration and he had to have been up there 4 or 5 days. So that's strange.
So something must have been keeping him up there. Because there was a ladder and everything. So they kind of wonder all right, what was keeping him so scared up there? And what waited all that time for him to just die?
Well, okay, now we meet old man Fred. He's got this cute little garden. And he's hoeing the garden, and the sheep are going nuts in their little pen. A graboid gets him, and then we see Rhonda's seismograph. It shows a spike. So the guys are back on their way out of town, but they discover all the dead sheep, and they're like, what hey?
What is happening today?
And then they see Fred's hat, and they lift it up, and they just see, Fred's frozen in terror face.
It's such a good shot.
It is.
Because also, how would that happen naturally? But yeah. I love it. It's okay. Because it makes for such a great, Yeah,
it's really good. So, there are these guys who are working on the road, I guess. One guy has a jackhammer, and he hammers through the asphalt, and all this blood comes spilling up. And then the jackhammer gets dragged away, and Carmine gets killed. that guy, the jackhammer guy. And then his partner's chasing after him, but there are all these falling rocks that come and smash him to bits. So now the plan is they're going to go to Bixby to get help. But the road is closed because of those falling rocks. So back at Chang's, they discover that one of the graboid tentacles has come off and it's gotten tangled up in the undercarriage of the truck.
Because there was one moment where Kevin Bacon can't get the car to go, and he's like, and him and, you know, what's his face?
Earl.
Yeah, Earl is like, yo, you're doing it wrong. You have to do it like this, you know. But then we find out, like, it's like so tight up around the rotor because basically they just, I guess, pulled it right off of the creature and just kept driving. But it wanted to eat them in that moment. So that's another bit of horror also that you're like, glad they got away.
So we meet
Chang's like, how much you want for it?
Yeah.
This joke about, like, is it that he wants to, like, profit off of it? Or, okay. I just thought it was so funny that he just, even when they eventually get, like, a larger one, they're like, how much do you think Chang's gonna give us for this one?
We meet the doctor and his wife, and they are building a house, and so they're sleeping in their mobile home. But the generator goes out, and so the doc goes to check that out. He gets pulled under. This is one of my favorite parts.
It's so good.
She runs back to her car, her station wagon car. She gets in the back, but all these graboids like chase her, and they're all slimy, and all their slimy mouths are getting all over the window and stuff, and she's freaking out. And then eventually, you know, the sound stops. They seem to be gone. She takes, you know, a sigh of relief, and then the car is dragged underground.
It's so
you know,
good.
like straight down so that the headlights are like shooting up into the sky. It's so cool. So back at Chang's, Chang is taking Polaroids of the kids with the tentacle thing. And the little girl Mindy is not into it, but now they decide they're going to ride horses to Bixby. And they go out to Doc's house and they discovered the buried car. The horses get spooked. Oh, and then one of the graboids grabs a horse.
Poor horsey.
And, like, pulls him over.
He doesn't deserve that.
No. But they run and run and run, and then they jump and they try to make it over this culvert. They don't quite make it, but they discover that the graboid can go through dirt, no problem, but it can't go through stone. So they have killed one of the graboids. And then Kevin Bacon goes, fuck you!
It's so good.
So good. Rhonda, you know, checking out the scene and everything. She doesn't see any eyes on them. And she's like, oh, this must be the biggest zoological discovery of the century. And then Val goes, hey, I found the ass end. Really pointing out the differences in these two. But Rhonda realizes that there's got to be 3 more of them because of the seismographic spikes on her seismograph machine. The graboids chase them up onto a rock and they have to stay there all night. And Val and Rhonda kind of cuddle up together.
There's all these great moments where it's like Earl will kind of catch them, and like the face he makes is so good because Val's kind of like whatever, and Earl just kind of makes it. He's like, all right, hey, like he's like so supportive. He's the happiest third wheel in the world.
I know, because at first I was like, is Earl interested in her?
Because he does really respect her. He's like, wow, yeah. She's so smart. But he is like older. And
yeah, he's quite a bit older than Val.
And I like that he never gets creepy. He's just like, whenever she does something amazing, he's just like, wow, you're incredible.
Yeah, like, great plan, great idea. Yeah, you're right. He is very encouraging to her. So we get this cute little part where they kind of pole vault from rock to rock, and the background music is like kind of like this old clangy like music. It's really fun. They get to the truck and they get back to Chang's, and Chang's are trying to name these things, and they're like snakeoids and Val and Earl are kind of like, this is not important. Like, we need to figure out what
we need to make sure we don't die. Graboids. I think graboids would be good.
Now they decide they're going to go up the Jeep trail. Melvin, being Melvin, he cries wolf, and everybody falls for it the first time. Then the second time, when he actually is in danger, they're like, this stupid kid. Everyone gets inside. Mindy is left. She's on her pogo stick, pogoing down the road.
And the ultimate thing is that they can't see. All they do is feel the vibrations and hear the noises. Yeah. So you can't pick a worse thing to be doing.
No. Everyone scatters. Here's where we get Rhonda caught up in the barbed wire. The way they get out of it is she takes off her pants.
They did not linger too long on this because for a second I was like, and then Ching immediately gets her new pants. I was like, this is like one of the first times I've ever seen this in a movie. Of like, okay, we're not disrobed. Let's immediately get her some clothes.
Everyone scatters. I don't know what the pickaxe means. I think Earl comes at it with a pickaxe, but I think the graboid is like trying with like one of its mouths to like unstick itself from the pickaxe. These things are horrible, but they're also really cute.
They look amazing too. Like, all practical, I think.
I think so. They're in Chang's making plans. The cooler goes off, the broken cooler. No. And so they run, but one of the graboids gets Chang.
So sad.
So now there's a dash to get up on the roof. Now this did remind me of Crawl. Because they're just trying to get to higher and higher levels. And this kind of goes on for a while. Like, they're climbing up the shelving and they're trying to get to the roof. Rhonda falls through the window and Kevin Bacon thinks she's a goner for a second. But she's not. She makes it up to the water tower.
I love this, that she is so capable. Like, she's so capable. And they just keep showing that it's like, everybody's working together. There's no, like, hero in this. It really is the whole town coming together.
That's true. Melvin gets up on the roof, even though at first he's like, you guys are stupid and whatever, but he gets scared, so he goes up on the roof. Now, they realize that the graboids are going for Bert's place, Bert and Heather the Preppers. And I don't know, they're having a problem communicating through the walkie or something, but they're not on their roof, and the graboids come into their place, and we think that they're goners, because the scene cuts back to the rest of the people. But then Bert and Heather start shooting the fuck out of these things because they've got a whole wall of guns.
Yes, they're in their bunker.
Oh my god, it's so great. And finally, Bert grabs an elephant gun, and like the shells are like so huge, and it's so great. But Reba hits one of them with a flare. Like Crawl. But the elephant gun like takes this thing out, and then Michael Gross says, "You broke into the wrong goddamn rec room, didn't you, you bastard?"
It's so good, and I love these two. I love they're such a perfect couple because like they're still like, hand me that, all right, now hand me that. Like they're such a great team, and she like calms him down at times. Like she's like, "Oh, it's all right, baby, it's all right." Like, they're perfect.
She's always like snuggling up with him, and it looks very natural.
Yeah.
I mean, now one thing is this. I didn't check the rating, but I guess it's a PG-13, right? Because they just say fuck once and the fuck you line. So they realize that there are two more mother humpers who are still out there. They call one of them Stumpy, the one that obviously got one of its tentacles knocked off. But Stumpy is getting smarter. It's studying the buildings and seeing where the weak points are. Nestor, that's Melvin's dad, I think.
Okay.
I think. But it's unclear. Because even after he's dead, Melvin seems fine.
Yeah, never really cries about it, so.
The graboid gets Nestor, takes out Bert and Heather's truck. That's a bummer, because I think that was the last truck. So now they want to get to the cat, and they're going to make a distraction. Miguel has a plan that he's going to set off this, like, golf cart little thingy to drive on its own, and it works until the golf cart thingy falls over. And then Bacon makes a break for it, but that, Graboid's on his trail. So then Rhonda yells after him, "Stop, be very quiet, so I can't sense you." So he's just like standing there stock still. That's really tense.
And he has to like lift his foot up sometimes because one of them is peeking its little head out.
But everybody else is making noise to draw attention back to them. And Rhonda breaks the water pipe, and that gets the creature's attention. So Bacon makes it, and he hitches up the trailer, and he rescues Rhonda. Bert and Heather are back at their ranch, and they're making homemade bombs. But they go and pick up Heather and Bert. But then they get stopped again because those mother humpers dug a trap
for this giant cat. It's crazy.
So they are really getting smart. They're learning a lot. So there's a lot of shooting now, throwing of bombs, and they do make it to these rocks that can hold all of them. But there's infighting in the group. So this is not good. And Michael Gross is saying we could have stayed back at the ranch. We would have been safer there. We had all that food. We had all these supplies. But no, you guys had to drag us out here into the middle of nowhere.
Best,
But Earl comes up with a great plan now, and that is to tie a bomb to the sort of lasso thing and throw it out there. He says it's like going fishing, which it is. So then they drag the bomb, and then the graboid comes and eats the bomb and then blows up. But Stumpy gets wise.
We got one more.
And throws the bomb back at them.
So good.
Really, really good. So Bacon makes a break for it. Earl and Rhonda follow, and they go to the edge of the cliff. And the graboid goes through the mountain and falls to the ground. And Bacon says, "Can you fly?" And it reminded me... It reminded me of Boddicker when he goes, "Can you fly, Bobby?" So everyone's pretty surprised that Val had this in him, And he goes, "It just occurred to me, Stampede."
And he's such a cutie. Like, Kevin Bacon here is he's eating the camera up.
He's so cute. Well, then we get a little coda here at the end. I think it's called a coda. I don't know. But anyway, and Val's like, "Oh, we're going to be like super famous. This is going to be awesome. And we might even make it to People magazine." And Earl says, "Oh, no, fuck that. National Geographic magazine,"
so
which is funny because Ron Underwood was making documentaries with National Geographic magazine before this movie.
Interesting.
At the very, very end, there's some very awkward bants between Val and Rhonda. She's clearly into him.
Yeah, clearly, like, kiss me. Like, he's like, whoa, this is great. We didn't die. Goodbye.
But he runs up to her and he kisses her, and then we get the credits, and it's super sweet.
I love it. I love that, like, yes, people died, but I'm glad that most of our friends stayed alive till the end.
Yeah. I also liked it that in a town of 14 people, you had a Chinese person and a Latinx person. I don't know. They, like you said, they do all seem to like each other and think of each other as a family, even if we have some kooks, in the family. Mm-hmm. Yeah, about them making fun of their lifestyle. Like Earl says, I guess we have to stop making fun of their lifestyle now.
They kind of saved our life because... a little bit.
Yeah. So I love that a lot. Briefly, what does Letterboxd have to say about it? So, number one Gizmo fan gave it 4.5 stars.
Wow.
Dare I say, the greatest and most homoerotic film ever made?
I don't think it's the most homoerotic film ever made. I could think of 20 more homoerotic films, but I mean, it's okay to just be attracted. It's okay to just have... I don't think anybody was in any way close to... I got none of that energy from Val and Earl, but they are definitely beautiful men. So there's that. I mean, there's just that you can look at.
They live together. They work together. When they're packing up at one point to go, they have like a little sign that says like Val and Earl. But I don't get the vibe that they're like a couple at all.
No.
I mean, they both seem like two really straight guys.
Yeah. Like,
who are friends with each other.
They're like life partners.
Yeah.
Platonic life partners.
Ethan gave it 4 stars. Any movie where people sport double denim is a must-watch in my book.
Taste.
Jaxie gave it 4. Dune for Rebecca McIntyre stands. Sean Casey gave it 3 stars. I knew I was gay when I was 8 because of Kevin Bacon in this movie. Pure cheese, but a lot of fun.
See, that's what I'm saying. Is like, I do think Kevin Bacon is rocking some great styles in this film.
He's super cute, but I mean, I think I'm more of an Earl girl myself.
Oh, I mean, that makes sense. He is very tiny, is the thing.
He's too small.
He's very
His butt
skinky.
is too small.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, he's just like too not enough man.
Yeah.
Not saying anything about his
that,
manliness.
Kevin Bacon? He's listening like, oh,
definitely listening. Kevin, I think it was 87, maybe it was like earlier than that you were in Footloose, and that changed my life.
Wow. Big words.
Oh, damn.
What changed?
Just gave me a reason to live and to carry on.
Footloose.
If he could turn that town around,
Stop.
Then
what couldn't you do?
You know what? I wasn't even into Kevin Bacon. I was more into John Lithgow. Mm-hmm. I'm like a character actor person.
I mean,
like,
Johnny
and
Go-Go
I always have
great.
been. He is so good. Remember when he was on Dexter?
I was just thinking about that.
Oh
so
my
scary.
God. The Trinity Killer? Oh man. Ugh. All right. Red Fett Solo 86 gave it 4 stars. Tremors, or also known as the redneck answer to Jaws.
I disagree because I would say that people who live on the beach are also rednecks. If you have clearly never been to Eastern North Carolina, and those are pretty much maybe the most redneck people you'll ever meet.
Hard agree. Daniela Machen gave it a half star. The effects are ass.
Wrong.
Daniela, what the fuck?
What's your problem? I don't think she I don't think she watched the right movie. Maybe she watched like Tremors 4 and then was like, let me just write this.
I don't know. But Not Marcus gave it 1 star. Dune, but made by meth heads.
Rude.
Not Marcus, not cool.
Not cool, and let's not, like, I've been noticing this with some of the younger generation too. Not that older people don't do this, but a lot of usage of the word crackhead, junkie, meth head. Let's not say these things. I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think it's a funny joke, and that's my stance. Anytime people come into my Twitch chat all the time saying something like junkie or crackhead, and I always just say, like, I don't like that. Like, don't say that, you know? Yeah. I can't really put into all the words. I'm not eloquent enough to explain to you why. Just, like, that's obviously very cruel. It's a really cruel thing to say, I think.
Well, I don't think anyone, when they're a little kid, dreams of being an addict.
It's a
and
sickness.
we've seen what happens to people who become addicted to these drugs, and it's not good. And it's not something to joke about.
It's not a personal defect, and it would be like making fun of somebody, in my opinion, who has another medical condition that they can't, like, that they can't control, you know? So, great. Yeah. You made fun of somebody who's suffering. Awesome. Good for you.
Yeah, I mean, punch up. Don't punch down.
Exactly. There's so many of these motherfuckers we could be making fun of.
Oh my God.
That,
Elon
like,
Musk, for one.
I mean...
How would we rate this, Mac? I thought we could rate it in homemade bombs.
I think I'll also give it 4 bombs.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I think I'd give it 4 1/4.
4 1/4 bombs. 4 bombs and like a quarter lit fuse.
It's good.
I mean, it's a great movie.
It's a nice, solid movie. It's got all these callbacks. It's got the great camaraderie between the two leads. It's got a great cast. And I looked up the cast, and they are all very, very interesting people. So it must have been a cool set to work on. I love the effects. I love the puppets.
I love the background. I mean, I just love, like, the setting, too. I'll give it 4.5. I don't know what's keeping me from 5. I can't really articulate it, but there's something that's keeping it from 5, but it is very good and solid.
That's quite good. What have we learned from Tremors?
I mean, don't judge a book by its cover.
Again,
yeah.
Just like BOAR.
Just like BOAR.
Everyone has something to bring to the table.
Yes. And together, we can accomplish great things.
But we're not all going to make it. Let's not delude ourselves. Like, you know, when we're fighting our battles, not all of us are going to make it.
There's going to be casualties.
God. Mother humper is a really funny word.
And I do think if you have one fuck, use it wisely. And I think they did.
Oh, I do too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like that one where Wolverine says "fuck you."
Yes. In
that's
First Class.
That's another one.
It's like, all right, perfect. You had one and you used it great.
You don't want to waste a fuck.
No.
Would we watch it again?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, totally. Did you have a favorite scene or a favorite kill?
It's tough because I liked so much of it. I mean, I really enjoyed Rhonda as a character, and I think I really started to love her a lot even more when she came up with, like, the pole vaulting. I just found that to be a really sweet scene, and I liked seeing everybody kind of grow closer as the movie went on, and I guess also when Chang brought her those pants, because I was like, if I have to keep looking at this woman in her underwear, I'm gonna go crazy, because I was like, there's no reason for her to be in her underwear and nobody else. So then when they gave her pants, I was so euphoric, honestly. I was like, thank God.
I did like that scene where Bacon and Val and Earl are being really serious about making the plan, and Chang is just, like, keeps coming back to the name thing. I thought that was pretty funny. But I really like the bunker scene.
Mm-hmm. That one's
when
really
they're
good.
shooting. I mean, they just keep, like, dropping guns and, like, picking up more guns, and it's just really, really satisfying.
The set design, that's, like, why I can't get over this half-star review, because I feel like the set design was, like, one of the most impressive. It's an impressive set. Like, that looks like they built a town. Like, they basically built a town for this movie, and it looks, I think so many movies have an issue now of, like, the sets don't even look real or lived in at all. And you cannot say, especially Chang's, like, little store. It looked so much like a store like that. That's, like, old and lived in and stuff. And that takes a lot of work and effort to make it look so effortless. And they did a great job.
There is a half-hour making of on YouTube that I would encourage people to look at. And it explains about the building of this town and, like, how they did some of the effects and stuff. But there was a really pretty cool effect where the roof caves in. Mm-hmm. There was a way that they could reset it just because of the way the guy built it. So
that's awesome.
I don't know. People like that amaze me so much.
Me too. Like, you're the smartest person on the planet, maybe.
Yeah. When Chang is partially swallowed by the graboid, it swerves back and forth between drawing back under the ground. It's almost identical to the scene near the end of Jaws, where Quint slides into the mouth of the giant shark and it swings back and forth with him in its mouth before sliding back into the water.
Good point.
Did you notice that, Mac? I know you're a huge Jaws person.
I didn't make the connection, but hearing that, I'm like, oh, totally. Yeah.
The original ending of the film was much different. Val and Earl head out to Bixby, and Val doesn't hook up with Rhonda, but it is implied. The two are looking for their lighter and realize that Rhonda still has it. They turn around and head back. This ending was shot and tested for one audience and was not well received. It is available on the documentary on the DVD.
I think the ending they chose is a lot better than that.
That's pretty cute. At around 45 minutes into the movie, Melvin is shown eating gummy worms. Valentine's belt buckles in the shape of a heart.
Cute.
At the time of filming during the spring of 1989, Kevin Bacon's wife, Kira Sedgwick, was in her third trimester of pregnancy with the couple's first child. With cell phones virtually non-existent in 1989, a telephone was installed on the set in order to allow Bacon to remain in touch with his wife from the set's isolated location.
Oh.
Bacon's wife went into labor during his last day on the set, right after filming of the scene where Walter is killed by the graboid. The couple's son, Travis Bacon, was born June 23rd, 1989.
That's sweet.
He's like Sammy's age.
Yeah.
Working titles for the film were Beneath Perfection, Dead Silence, and Land Sharks before the filmmakers decided on Tremors.
Good pick. Those are way better than all of those.
Yes. Amalgamated Dynamic Inc., ADI, founded by Stan Winston, were in charge of the special effects. And they also worked on Death Becomes Her, Starship Troopers, Mac, Alien 3, Wolf, one of my favorites, Jumanji, The X-Files, and The Thing, but The Thing 2011.
But we did hear from Martin that they didn't use all of maybe these are the things that they didn't use.
Oh, right. The practical.
That they, for some reason, were like, oh, no, let's not do the thing people like.
Yeah, I know. Okay, one more piece of trivia. Tremors was set for a November 1989 release. However, the MPAA gave the film an R rating owing to language, and the creators decided at the last minute to make the film more commercially available. Over 20 or so uses of the word fuck were either cut or redubbed with much softer words. Examples include, "Can you fly, you sucker?" and "We killed that mother humper," among several others. The film was pushed back to allow more time for editing, and the film was eventually released in January 1990 with a PG-13 rating. While Cinematic later stated they were very happy with the decision to make Tremors appeal to a more family-friendly audience rather than an adult-oriented audience.
I think that's fair.
I think that was a good call.
Yeah, me too. Because it's a fun movie, and there's not that much gore, so, like, why couldn't a kid see it? I don't know.
On that little documentary, they show some of the actors showing up at, like, cons and stuff, and Michael Gross is the only person to appear in all 7 Tremors movies, and as Bert Gummer, and he has a lot of fans.
I bet.
Like, people are really big fans of that character.
Interesting.
There was one girl who was, like, talking in the audience, and she was just like, when I saw this movie, I just decided I just want to be just like him when I grow up.
Okay.
Well,
all right.
He has a lot of admirable characteristics, but anyway, he spoke to that little girl, so.
I'm good. I'm happy for her.
Did you have anything like that, Mac, when you were little? A character that stood out to you?
Seymour Krelborn from Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh my gosh!
I just love him. If I could pick,
I do too.
If I could pick any
do.
role, like any role I could ever, so sorry about this person, any role that I could ever do, it would be that role.
Mm-hmm. Rick Moranis, what a doll.
He's such a cutie. How about you?
I was thinking of it. I mean, I had this weird thing when I was little. I wanted everybody to marry my mom. Like, Mr. Rogers. I wanted Mr. Rogers to marry my mom. I mean, then I wanted Malcolm. Then I wanted Magnum P.I. to marry my mom. And then I wanted Daniel J. Travanti from Hill Street Blues to marry my mom.
This is so cute.
Yeah. So obviously none of those things happened. But I think, I mean, I was really into Sherlock Holmes. Not like the movies, but I mean, I read the books and stuff, and I really thought that Sherlock Holmes was like the best.
He is.
All right, should we shut it down, Mac?
Shut it.
Thank you for joining us for this episode and for all your support. It means the world of horror to us truly. Next time, it's Mom's pick of genre, and Mom has chosen creepy kid movies. We will be looking at Goodnight Mommy from Germany and The Orphan from the US. We also want to let you know to look out for some minis that I'm going to be dropping into your feed. These will be 20 to 40-minute eps on classic foundational international horror movies. We are also very excited to bring you some It Means the World of Horror to Me bonus eps featuring our friends and WoHos sharing their favorite or fond of horror movies. Please email us at worldofhorror96@gmail.com or catch up with me on World of Horror Podcast on Instagram. Mac, what do you want to plug?
Well, you can catch me streaming on Twitch Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I just started the brand new game, Elden Ring. I've never played a Soulsborne game before, so I am very much looking forward to dying many times in this game. So I hope that you will come by and watch, and you're always welcome.
Remember, WoHos, we love you, and don't go into the basement.
Yay!
That was pretty good.
Yeah, we did it.
We did it again.